So good evening, back at it again. We're at we left off with Proverbs 19 or 20. I think we started again, as Sue was saying. Or was it 23? Was it?
Chapter 19, verse 23, start with verse 24.
All right, let's start up with 24. We got just five verses and then we'll be into chapter 20. So who would like to read those five verses?
I will read.
Okay.
The sluggard loses his hand in the dish, he will not even lift it to his mouth. If you beat an arrogant man, the simple learn a lesson. If you rebuke an intelligent man, he gains knowledge. He who mistreats his father or drives away his mother is a worthless and disgraceful son. If a son ceases to hear instruction, he wanders from words of knowledge. An unprincipled witness perverts justice, and the mouth of the wicked pours out iniquity. Rods are prepared for the arrogant and blows for the backs of the fools.
All right, cool. So lots of juxtaposition here, different types. The Gail, what is your translation say for 24?
A slothful man buries his hand in the bowl and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again.
And how about 25?
Strike a scoffer, and the simple will become wary. Reprove one who has understanding, and he will discern knowledge.
Okay, so yeah, this is that splitting again. Mine has 25 has mocker and simple. Flog a mocker, and he flog a mocker, and the simple will learn prudence. Rebuke a discerning man, and he will gain knowledge. So you have the sluggard, or the fool, or the unsavory guy, the mocker, gets beaten. He doesn't learn anything from it. I think of the times with our children where they are being obstinate and contrary, and we try to teach them a lesson. We think we've got it, or they've got it, and then they turn around and do the same thing again. They just don't get it. I've got two all the way up till tomorrow. I have two brothers sitting in the second seat on the right in the bus, because I told them both 3 times during the year that if I had to tell them a fourth time, they would have to sit in the front for the rest of the year. And one by one, they came up there, starting about 2 months ago. And they keep asking me when they're going to get to go to the back. I'm like, you need to review what we said. You didn't learn. 3 full times, and I don't know how many chances I gave them in between those 3 times to do what they're supposed to have done. They're not going to learn. So they are the sluggard. But the other kids on the bus learned. Brendan, who is a very energetic young man, and can, not being malicious, but absent-minded about the rules. He saw the older boy who was in his grade, and then his younger brother, and Brendan still keeps his energy, but he stopped he stopped doing the things that the first boy was doing. So he was the innocent one, and he learned from the punishment of the sluggard. But this young man asked me last Thursday when he could move to the back, and I said, okay, well, you just think about it, and so will I. And on that was before we pulled out of the driveway. When we pulled out of the driveway, it's only 10 minutes to his house. And by the time we had gotten probably a minute away, he was already standing up and throwing something across the aisle to somebody else. I'm like,
My goodness.
just so this is the sluggard. I hate to say it, but that's the sluggard. The innocent are the other kids that never went down that road. But the discerning man, that's the one who's listening, the one who's trying to understand, the one who wants to know, wants to grow. We have a real problem. My mom used to call it thin-skinned. Remember that, Sue? Thin-skinned. Thin-skinned people can't take criticism. Thin-skinned people can't be are contrary immediately. They'll kind of think that everyone's out to get them. Any word of instruction is actually a word of criticism. And I was working with somebody just a little while ago where that was exactly what they were doing. They're just saying every suggestion or compromise about moving forward was an affront, about an attack. That if I must be suggesting a better way because I am saying that their way is horrible and they're stupid and dumb and going to hell. At least that's the way they acted. And meanwhile, I'm just trying to help move things along and have a compromise. We're working in a partnership to make things better, but you never know it with the way that the responses were. They just can't see beyond their own pain. And that is really what it is, right? That's just pain. People, everybody's in pain. Everybody, all of us, we're in pain. Everybody's in pain with something in their life. And that's life. That's living. Well, it seems like I mean, some people have more pain than others because of things that have happened, but we all have the pain. The idea is to recognize the pain, but not just the pain, but how that pain is manifesting itself in the way that we live our lives and how we treat each other. It's really going to be how we treat each other. Unless you are a solitary and you live alone in the house, then you can, but you're still going to have to count how you treat the lady down at the Food Lion, or the person that you see at church, or maybe your in-law that you went to, or your sister, or your brother, or someone. You're not going to treat them well. So most of us, we all have relationships. It's the call to say, looking at my pain, how does that affect or afflict my relationship, my treating the people in my life that I love and that love me. That's the difference between the sluggard and the discerning person. The discerning person wants to know what that is and make their life better. And the sluggard can't learn from the lesson. Not gonna look at the pain, not gonna get the lesson. They're gonna keep doing the same thing and then blame the other person for it. Right? He who robs his father and drives out his mother is a son who brings shame and disgrace. That's pretty plain, I think. That's not a mysterious one. Stop listening to instruction. Got that one. That's pretty good. A corrupt witness mocks at justice, and the mouth of the wicked gulps down evil. I can't help but look at some of these things and think of our life today. Perhaps in the news, perhaps at the national level or the local level. I've just gotten in conversation with somebody about local politics, and they were telling me things that pinned my little ears right on back. The corrupt witness mocks at justice. Being a corrupt witness does not mean getting on a stand or getting a sandwich board or going out and screaming at the top of your lungs. You can be a corrupt witness by innuendo, by being very genteel, and just, someone says, I think I've said this before, when, that I'm at a meeting, that I'm in a meeting, and someone says, where's Father Bill? And you go, I don't know. I guess he should be here, but, I don't know. Maybe we'll come back later. So you may not know exactly what the meeting I'm in. You don't know what the meeting's about. So you're not lying. You don't know. But you see, the intention is to suggest that something is wrong, that I'm playing hooky or doing something I shouldn't do or whatever. It's an innuendo that pushes toward the negative. And this is why the next one, I think, says, at the mouth of the wicked gulps down evil. And you see, I hear that as a double. When I hear the mouth of the wicked, I'm thinking that how the wicked defile God and defile others out of their speaking it out. But here it's saying gulping down evil. So taking the choice to eat, the consumption of the result of my speaking. It's a pretty wild thing. If my, the difference between sin and evil is sin is what's in me, and evil is what I do. Right? If I have a sin nature, so my sin nature is to be dishonest and abusive. So what do I do with that sin nature? I rope other people into lies and dishonesty, and I'm abusive to other people and ruin their life or try to. So my sin is my sin, but I perpetrated it on the world and created an evil process that now afflicts other people. So, you can keep your sin to yourself your whole life. That's between you and God. You can work that out. You can have that process going on within you, and where you all should be turning to God, saying, God, help me with this. This is really bad. I want to get rid of this thing and I can't. But acting on it in the world, that is something completely different. That's when we know, either in small ways or in large ways, the impact on other people's lives and the things that are going on. As we say, we see dishonesty in the public sector right now. And we all have seen for the last years the damage that it causes to huge swaths and enormous numbers of people by false witnesses and by gulping down evil. My refusal to look at myself and understand is perpetrated on everybody else, as it would have to be. Penalties are prepared for the mockers and beatings for the backs of the fools. So that's 29. We're on to 30, or on to chapter 20. Who'd like to read 20? Let's see where there's the break. 20. Blameless king sits. Sick my heart are differing weights, measures. So let's go to 12. Who would like to read 1 through 12?
I'll go.
You go.
Wine is a mocker and beer a brawler. Whoever is led astray by them is not wise. A king's wrath is like the roar of a lion. He who angers him forfeits his life. It is to a man's honor to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. A sluggard does not plow in season, so at harvest time he looks but finds nothing. The purpose of a man's heart are deep waters, but a man of understanding draws them out. Many a man claims to have unfailing love, but a faithful man who can find? The righteous man leads a blameless life. Blessed are his children after him. When a king sits on his throne to judge, he winnows out all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I have kept my heart pure, I am clean and without sin? Differing weights and differing measures, the Lord detests them both. Even a child is known by his actions, but whether his conduct is pure and right. Ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both.
All right. Anybody get caught up with any of those? I like the
Purpose-
first one. Wine is a mocker and beer is a brawler. What's yours say, Gail?
Wine is a mocker, intoxicating drink arouses brawling, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise.
What about yours, Sue?
Wine is arrogant. Strong drink is riotous.
Hmm.
None who goes astray for it is wise.
I find this kind of thing is interesting because I think everybody knows that depending on what you drink, I mean, it's all alcohol, so it all can get you drunk and all like that, but it's different kinds of drunks. Wine really is a different intoxication than beer, and that's different from hard alcohol. So he has distinguished this. So that's pretty neat. A king's wrath is like the roar of a lion who angers him forfeits his life. So this is speaking of, so we have the intention of saying the king, the physical king, the person in authority. Remember that the kings were supposed to be righteous. They were supposed to be God-fearing and following God. What a sad litany of the opposite in the life of God's chosen people. The book of Kings, there are so many. When was the last time anybody read Kings? I think we did it several years ago now. Where is it?
I can't remember when I read it.
Yeah, let me see.
Did we do it in this group?
No.
I didn't think so.
I thought we had. Maybe I'm going
You're going way back, I think.
too far back in my brain to. I'm not gonna be able to find it. I've got my.
I don't remember reading Kings.
Yeah, I've got my second bottle here, and I don't have my notes in this one. Shoot. Well, there's so many places where it goes. It talks about the kings of Israel, and the paragraph for the kings is like this long. And it just says that this king was a terrible guy and did what was wrong in the eyes of the Lord and caused damnation and evil on his people. And it goes on to the next king. And it goes on to the next king and the next king and the next king. And it just happens over and over and over again. So the intention for the king to be righteous and good and true, like Solomon started out to be, before he wasn't anymore. So if you are provoking the king's wrath, and the king is righteous, then you're obviously not. So the mirror could be whenever, if you're looking to God and you are feeling in the right, how would that be reflected in God's judgment? God is the righteous king. So I bring my thing to God. And what is I think if I told you the story about the woman in the hospital that her husband was dying and she wanted to be stronger. She asked me to pray over her husband and she told me what to pray. And she said, "This is what I want you to pray." You all remember this story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh, she was this man was dying. I knew him for about a month, and his wife. It was Washington Hospital Center, and they have these strange. Every once in a while, you get these rooms where the room is huge, and there's one bed in it, and it's like you could have a party in the room around the bed. It's huge. The sofa thing built into the wall is like 10 feet away from the bed. So that's the room he was in. So it's very weird because you walk in, it's almost like a movie with this bed, this giant room like thing. And she would go in, she'd show up. She was a professional woman, and you could hear her coming down the hall because her shoes clicked. And she was dressed to the tens, and she was very sharp. And she would go straight to the nursing station, and she'd ask to see the chart and understand what was going on. And then she would talk to the doctor, and then she would talk to the nurse, and then she'd say hello to me, and then she'd go in and talk to her husband, and then she would leave. And she came back very, very appropriate. So it was time now. Her husband was dying, and she told me, she said, "Okay, chaplain, we're going to go in, and I'd like you to pray for my husband, and I would like you to pray." And then she told me, she said, "This is what you're going to like to pray, that he is without pain, and that he won't suffer, and that his death will come quickly and without turmoil, and that I want you to pray that I will be strong, and that I will be able to persevere, and I will have wisdom, and I will," it just went on with all these things. So I went in there, and then she said, "And when you're done and you say amen, you can leave."
Wow.
So I went in, and she was on that side of the bed. I was on this side of the bed. It was a big bed too. It was not. It was an oversized hospital bed. It was a hospital bed for a large person, and the man that was in it was not a large person. I'm sure you've seen the large wheelchairs for large people. Yeah, so it was much bigger than it needed to be. And I said the prayer she wanted me to, and when I got to the end to say amen, and I just couldn't stop. I knew those were the wrong prayers. They were wrong. They were wrong. She didn't need anything I was praying for. She had everything I was praying for already. She was praying for the same thing. They were the wrong prayers. If she stood up before God and said, "God, I want you to make me strong," that's ridiculous. She was already strong. That the prayer we pray for the thing that we think we don't have is oftentimes us hiding the thing that we really need to pray for. So I prayed for her to be weak. I turned it around. I felt at any moment I was going to feel the slap or the whack on my head, and I said I pray that she is weak and able to live into the beauty of the life that she's had with her husband, and for the blessing of this time that they have together, and at this transition of life, that this would be something that they could share, and that they would be reunited in the eternal life, having parted this life with love and felicity and tenderness for each other. And while I'm talking, I could feel the bed moving. I'm right there on the bed. I was holding his arm, side of his arm. You feel the bed moving. I'm thinking, she's just squirming. she's just gonna let me have it. When I open my eyes, I'm gonna be drilled with lasers, and I'm gonna leave the room, and she's gonna come after me. And I said, "Oh man," I opened my eyes, and she had gotten in the bed. That's what she was doing while I was praying. And so I opened my eyes, and she was laying down next to her husband. And I hadn't seen her do anything, but I think she kissed him on the forehead when she would come in. She was just very like this, off, standing off. And I didn't say a word. She didn't say a word. And I left. And she was in there about, oh, it was about an hour and a half. And he died.
Oh.
So she came out, and she was very quiet and said, "Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna come back." And I have this in my mind. I don't know, but I have this desired picture that she stayed in bed with him the whole time. That she realized he was dead in bed with him. That she was just laying with him, holding him. So we have a tendency to pray for the wrong thing. And I think here, if you look at this one passage, the king's wrath, who angers him. If you stand before God and pray for whatever we're praying for, are we praying for the right thing? Are we praying for the thing that we already have? We just want to fine tune it, and we're praying to our strengths, and it's a weird thing, because you don't think that you're doing it. You think that's what you need, and it's not necessarily what you need at all. Not at all. Okay, let's see. Sluggard does not plow in season. We know that's not preparation, right? That's an interesting one. Many a man claims to have unfailing love, but a faithful man who can find? What's your translation, Gail?
What number is this?
That is 6.
Most men will proclaim each his own goodness, but who can find a faithful man?
Any man claims of unfailing love. Both those that's equal. Proclaims his own goodness. So, having done marital counseling for quite a while now, I would say that this is absolutely true for both men and women. That both men and women will say, "I'm a good husband. I'm a good wife. These are the things that I do," and that we have a laundry list of what we do for each other. I do all these things for her. She does all these things for me, and that's the way we determine our love. But it's not. In reality, what the other person sees or understands as love, right? So I had a young couple that came in. I guess they'd been married about 10, maybe less than that, 7 years or something. And he said, I don't think my wife loves me. And she said, "Of course I love you. This is so stupid. We always have this talk, and you always say the same thing." And he says, "But you don't say I love you." And she says, "I say it every day. I cook for you. I clean for you. We've had babies. We've had children together. I take care of you. We go on vacation, and we laugh, we fun, we have great times." And so he just sat there looking at her like, and I said, "Okay, I think that this is the way that she's expressing her love. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Look at her, listen to her. She's doing these things as a partner for you." But I said to her, while you're doing all these wonderful things, he needs one thing more that you're not doing. So you're doing all these things that you know mean love to him, but they're really the things that you think of as love that you're giving to him. What you need to find out is what he thinks love looks like. And his was simple. He just wanted her to say, "I love you." And he did add, "And look at me." "Look at me when you say it." And she said, "Well, that's easy." She turned to him and said, "I love you." And it's just, where did that get lost in the translation? She was trying so hard to be a good wife, but the way that she was showing love was her way of showing love. She needed to find out his way of seeing love. And if it was really a gift from her, then she would give him his love he could see that way. And that's what we're all supposed to do. We're supposed to find out and know in each other the places where we recognize the other person's need for or understanding of the expression of love, and then give them that. It doesn't mean we can't give them the stuff that we're giving, and we're going to do that anyway. It's natural. It's the extra yard to say, what's the next thing? What can I do to show you I love you? Not what I want to show you, but how do I know that you want to be shown love, and then do it. Let's see. Man sits down as throne and judge, windows all evil eyes. Who can say I've got my heart pure? I like that one because that's this section right here is about being haughty. These fools and sluggards and mockers. This is all haughty people who are thinking of themselves. They're selfish. They're self-centered, self-aggrandizing. Who can say I have kept my heart pure? I am clean and without sin. Of course, the answer is nobody, no one, no, no, no. So if you can't say it, you shouldn't even think it. And yet people seem to act like they are that much better than everybody else. And it's just putting it into this categories of the mocker and the sluggard. Differing weights and differing measures, the Lord detests them both. What does that mean?
People who are cheating.
Matthew, I think of Matthew whenever that happens. The tax collector. Either, who doesn't do that? Who does not have different, and is it okay? I think it's got to be okay, right? We have differing weights and differing measures because this is my family. So I'm going to do this more for them than I'm going to do for my next door neighbor. And that's okay because there's no malice in it. There's no malice intended. What we're talking about here is the helping or someone else or building up someone else for me. I'm building them up because I want to, and then I'm not doing it with somebody else. I'm putting my finger on the scale, and it's icky. Even a child is known by his actions, by whether his conduct is pure and right. Okay, ears to hear and eyes to see. Where have you heard that before?
Jesus said it.
Yeah. Now, next time you hear it in the gospel, when Jesus says it, you can go, I know that. That was Proverbs 20:12. Holy smokes. Yeah, it's other places in the Old Testament too, but we're doing Proverbs right now. So ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. So when Jesus is saying ears that see and eyes that hear, he's not just talking about the revelation of himself and his own words, but he's talking about these other revelatory phrases that we have in Proverbs. Look at your own life, read Proverbs and see where you fall. And if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, then you'll do it and you'll know it. If you don't, you won't. I think that was wonderful that was planted right in there for us. All right, who'd like to keep going? Let's see, 13. Looks like there's a break at 16, but let's keep going. Let's go. 19. Let's go 13 through 19.
Okay, I will.
Gail?
Do not love sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes, and you will be satisfied with bread. It is good for nothing, cries the buyer, but when he has done his way, then he boasts. There is gold and a multitude of rubies, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel. Take the garment of one who is surety for a stranger, and hold it to a pledge when it is for a seduction. Bread gained by deceit is sweet to the man, but afterward his mouth will be filled with gravel. Every purpose is established by counsel. By wise counsel wage war. He who goes about as a talebearer reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with one who flatters with his lips.
Gritty. All right, who wants to jump in there? There's so many times in Proverbs we have the likeness of 13. Mine says, "Do not love sleep, or you will grow poor. Stay awake, and you'll have food to spare." Remember earlier on you talked about the man who didn't plant and then went hungry. This happens over and over again. They're really hammering this idea. It's just responsibility. Be responsible. You know what you need to do, and you need to do it. And if you don't do it, it's going to cause you problems. And that, like I say, that goes for everything. So it's relationships and all that other stuff. Don't put off till tomorrow. Remember that? Mom and dad used to say. Um, I like it. It's no good. It's no good, says the buyer, and then he goes off and boasts about his purchase. So is the buyer being honest with that, or trying to get the best deal? So I'm trying to get the best deal, and the best deal is more important than integrity, than honesty. I know this is a good thing. I know that this is a valuable thing, but I'm going to try to get this person to bring the price down by convincing them it's not. That's terrible. Jay Leno, remember Jay Leno? Jay Leno got in real bad social media back when, that was long before the social media like we have, because we all know he's a giant car collector. In fact, I have to look him up. I haven't heard anything about Leno in a long time. He's a giant amazing car collection. His garage is like a museum warehouse. It's incredible. And he has these guys that are looking for certain vehicles, like an army of these people that he employs, and they're all doing it clandestinely. Not saying this is for Jay Leno. And so there were two famous occurrences where the one happened that with a Duesenberg in New York and another one in Florida. And I'll tell you the one in Florida. Guy called this man. He was like a 70-year-old guy, and he was cleaning out his garage, and it's one of those detached garages behind the house. Like the house is across the street from the church a little bit and farther back. And he had this old motorcycle, this old Harley Davidson motorcycle in there, and it belonged to his son. Son was dead. And his son had bought it. He worked on vehicles, and he bought that, and it had been in there for 40 years, and he hadn't even done anything with it. So he's cleaning it out, and he went to sell it, and he put pictures of it, and guys called him on the phone and talked to him about it, and then he said, I'll take it. So the man showed up to buy it, and paid him, $3,000 for this old Harley Davidson 1942 or something, 48, 46 Harley Davidson, and got the receipt, was all happy. And right when this happened, the guy got on his phone and said, it's done. And limousine came up the road, and Jay Leno jumped out, met the man, said, oh, this is wonderful. And he took out I know what they're called, but I can't remember. It's like a wrench with a screwdriver. It's a screwdriver with a wrench in the end. And he knelt down and undid the seat, took the seat off. And he didn't look at it. He took the seat off, and he lifted it up like this. So the seat's facing him, didn't do anything. It's not like it's. On the bottom of the seat was a plaque that said, awarded to Elvis Presley with the thankfulness of Harley Davidson Corporation. And it's a one-off, one-of-a-kind motorcycle. It was made specifically for Elvis Presley. And Leno had the number of the engine number. So when the old guy told him the engine number, he knew what it was. And he bragged about it. And people got so ticked off that he went back to the guy and paid him an appropriate amount of money.
Good.
Yeah. Same thing happened to this lady, old Duesenberg, $1 million car. The same thing happened. It's shocking when people with means and money do that kind of thing. I suppose that maybe that's how they make all their money. But to think that they, are so focused on the world, focused on themselves, focused on the deal, that they will have no problem crushing or hurting or bypassing the little people, right? Nothing. That's lint to pay that woman the man what the motorcycle was worth. Even if it was $100,000, still lint. It's nothing to him, nothing. But he was very apologetic from what I read, and went back and gave her the money, or gave him the money. So it's a happy ending story. But
I think he's busy taking care of his wife now. She has either Alzheimer's or extreme dementia.
oh, well, he's a great guy. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff with him, and maybe those were unsavory times that that were learning experiences for him, and he stopped doing that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
okay, food gained by fraud tastes sweet, but ends up the mouth full of gravel. There's another one of those. Make plans by seeking advice. This is 18. If you wage war, obtain guidance. And then this one, 19. Mine is, I love, Gail, I love your translation. It's an old phrase. It's not using our talebearer. It's a great phrase. It's a gossip. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid a man who talks too much. You know, I shouldn't tell you this, but how many times do you hear that? I shouldn't say anything, but well, if you shouldn't say anything, don't. If you shouldn't say anything, who are you trying? What are you gaining? What are you getting out of it? Certainly not the person that you're talking about, because you know you shouldn't say anything. You just said it. So this is not for them. This is for you. So that's a gossip, right? Okay, let's just go to the end. Woohoo! 20 through 30, 10 whole verses. Who wanted to read?
I'll do it.
You do it.
If you insult your father or mother, your light will be snuffed out in total darkness. An inheritance obtained too early in life is not a blessing in the end. Don't say, I will get even for this wrong. Wait for the Lord to handle the matter. The Lord detests double standards. He is not pleased by dishonest scales. The Lord directs our steps, so why try to understand everything along the way? Don't trap yourself by making a rash promise to God and only later counting the cost. A wise king scatters the wicked like wheat, then runs his threshing wheel over them. The Lord's light penetrates the human spirit, exposing every hidden motive. Unfailing love and faithfulness protect the king. His throne is made secure through love. The glory of the young is their strength. The gray hair of experience is the splendor of the old. Physical punishment cleanses away evil. Such discipline purifies the heart. Is that it?
That last one is the credo of a lot of medieval monasteries. and of course Monty Python as well. All right, what did you hear? Any of them stand out to you? We had a lot of repeats in there, pointing back at what we've already done. Of course, that one that stands out is the where is it? Oh shoot, where is it? Oh, the weights, 23. Did the weights, and there it is again.
Mhm.
An inheritance quickly gained at the beginning will not be blessed at the end. Why is that? What do you think of when you hear that? I think of youth. What do you think of?
Well, somebody that gets wealthy and like winning the lottery, and always they seem to more often than not go broke.
Yeah. Yeah, no wisdom.
It's not earned really.
Well, they can't. Yeah, they don't know how to handle it.
It doesn't bring happiness.
No. In the Marines, we had classes. We'd pull lance corporals and even corporals out and have them class. We had we had a whole rash of young Marines who had gotten into financial problems and been brought up to the JAG officer, and because they thought that if they had checks in their checkbook, they had money to spend.
Wow.
Yeah. So they went out on town, they got their checkbook, and they went out on town and they just they never had that before. Never had money. They never had a checkbook, never had anything like that. And they had no idea what to do with it. Yeah.
They were Marines?
Yeah. Young Marines.
I thought you had to be smart to be a Marine.
Right off the farm. You have to be wise. You have to know what to do. Let's see. 22. Do not say I will pay back for the wrong. Wait for the Lord and he will deliver you. This is a tough one. Man, I want to get even. Holy crud, the things I could do. I have spent hours in mulling in my mind over the years the events of my retribution, and never acted on it. Maybe that was the fire burning. I was burning the fire out, and every time I would get to that point and say, "Oh no, I gotta let God do it. I can't do it." So that's a good one. I mean, God has told us this all along. I'm the one who punishes. I'm the one who does this. We all know that the law is there for the law's sake, but we also know what happens when the person goes out and exacts the punishment, and then what happens to them? They're the ones that wind up in jail. They're the ones that wind up, suffering because of what they've done. So
Where's vengeance is mine, saith the Lord in the
yes,
Bible? Where's that?
there's that. Yeah,
I mean, that is basically the same thing, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
I like 24.
You got it? Oh, you like 24.
I like 24.
Okay. 24 is a man's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand his own way? Yeah, that's great. Maybe we don't think about that enough, right? If I'm being a faithful person, I should pay more attention to the manner in which my life is being directed, or the events of my life that come to pass. If it's something that I don't like, if it's something that's not good, how am I responding to it? How am I being responsible? How am I living into it? And so it doesn't need that. It's not necessarily saying that the Lord's leading me into this terrible pain and horror. That's not it. But the Lord is leading me through the terrible pain and horror. And so as I've arrived at this point that this thing has happened to me, I mean, I'm afflicted. How is God directing my path through it? What's the manner of it? This was part of the middle portion of the Pilgrim's Progress, with Pilgrim going in the valley and trying to make his way through. There's a lot of it going through, right? He kept getting off the path, and following the worldly wise man and everybody else off the path. He's not thinking at the moment about how God's leading him, and then in the process, a lot of those times he's not thinking. Then remember, gosh, what was the giant? Then he was imprisoned by the giant. He was going to get eaten, and he hadn't called out to the Lord. He hadn't done it. So maybe he's this terrible thing's being allowed to happen to him. He's being captured, and terrible things are happening. But in the midst of this terrible thing happening, God's directing him to cry out, to pray, and those are the steps that the Lord's leading him on. Lamp of the Lord searches the spirit of man. Oh yeah, that's a scary one. 27. The lamp of the Lord searches the spirit of a man. It searches out his innermost being. I wasn't very long ago. In fact, it was during Lent when I had this question delivered to me in a very excited email from a person that's not one of ours, that was asking me because they said I can't function. I can't function. I'm gonna have to leave the churches, and I'm gonna have to leave. I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna have to stop. Because they said I've done all these terrible things, and I'm a terrible person, and I know I'm a terrible person, and I've done terrible things, and God sees it all. I can't hide a thing, and I can't stand it. I said, well, you're convicted, right? You're convicted. You're caught. You're convicted. I said, yes. I said, okay. Thanks be to God. Give God the glory. Not only are you seen by God, and God still loves you, not only are you seen by God, and God still wants you and directs you, But now you're actually you're actually been led to the place where you're looking at yourself and being honest. And now's the opportunity for you to give that over to the God who brought you to that place. Now that you know who you are and you're actually being honest for the first time, you can let that go and become the person that you would be without all that baggage, without all that pain, without all that remember back when. So that's exactly what I said. What a glorious Lent for you. What a wonderful witness for you that you can help other people in their pain and their suffering by telling your Lent story. So yeah, it's, we don't see it. We come right up to it and we implode. We go into ourselves and just think about the pain, think about the heartache, think about the failure, think about the suffering. We don't reflect that back out. And we don't realize that all that pain and suffering that we are taking into ourselves and we own it like it's our thing is the thing that Jesus hung on the cross for. We can give that back to him and he's going to give us joy in response. That's the gift. But we can't do that. I can't give him my suffering if I won't let go of it. I can't give him my suffering if I don't look at it and realize what it is. Remember, that's Pilgrim's Progress. Had a big thing on his back. Didn't even know it was there. He never knew it was there until he read the Bible. And then he left the city of destruction and he realized he had this big burden on his back. But before that, he was just walking around with it, like, turtle shell. You got to, and remember, he climbed the hill. And as he climbed the hill, the bands broke and the burden left. And when he found himself at the top of the hill, where was he? He was at the foot of the cross. He was drawing closer to God to cut the bands and set him free. So that's the promise. That's the promise of Easter. Let's see. Blows and wounds cleanse the. Yeah, this is a wild one. 30 blows. Mine says blows and wounds cleanse away evil, and beatings purge the innermost being. What do you think? What's someone's translation that's different?
Mine is different. Mine says, evil is cleansed away by bloody lashes and a scourging to the inmost being.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, because it's so much like Jesus, what Jesus suffered.
I was going to say very biblical language in that one.
Yeah.
How appropriate. So this is kind of, exactly what I'm saying, right? The awareness of the pain and suffering, the innermost being, is purging. It's the ability to let things go. If I'm hurt and wounded and I live in my wound, that's all I'm going to be. But if I let that wound become the thing that pushes the purge in me, that pushes everything forward, like I've got a clog and it's pushing it forward, then I can let it go. It's our innermost being that we really want to take care of, isn't it? I mean, I certainly like the outer being a little bit, but it's the inner being. I was listening to a guy on the radio the other day who was quadriplegic, and I didn't know it until they reintroduced him in the interview. But his language was just so inspiring. Before I knew that, he's very positive, very inspiring individual. He's got nothing out on the outside. And then later in the interview, that's exactly what he said. He said, "I'm free of all of that." He said, "You're the one suffering, not me. I'm not burdened by all of that. I'm sorry. But I do have a lot to pay for inside of me, in my head, in my heart." And you think about him, like, holy crud. Who am I to ignore that which he is embracing every day, because I have this thing. It's just a distraction. His witness was wonderful. Yay. And look, our timing is almost perfect. 32 minutes
That's
after.
perfect. Yeah. Good job.
That was great. Thank you, everybody, for your patience with my electronic difficulties, bringing it back around. So this was a wonderful night. almost didn't expect it. So this was great.
Glad it worked out.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna move my marker in my Bible. And we got a great song too. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I pray that you all have a wonderful night, a good, peaceful sleep. It's not raining. Maybe I'm going to open the door tonight and make sure I get some of that 60-degree weather in the bedroom. Cold pillow. And let the morning come slowly. All right.
Nice.
God bless you all. Have a good sleep.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.